really think that WWE need to be giving more emphasis on these matches rather than a relationship scandal. My hopes are that this all comes out in the open by the WWE Championship match at the 25th anniversary of Survivor Series, and we see John Cena and AJ having something more productively done with their characters. What you can do with AJ is you can have her be a potential contender for Eve's Divas Championship. As much as I'm enjoying the Eve Caitlyn program over the Divas Championship, I think AJ can be implemented into, say, a three-way angle over the Divas Championship. You can kind of take Layla out and put her to the side for the time being, throw AJ in there. You can even have a fatal four-way if you want to keep Layla involved. But I think that AJ definitely is in a position right now where she should be competing. I mean, she's not the Raw general manager anymore. WWE really aren't doing anything with her because the relationship scandal, I'm going to be honest with you, doesn't interest me, and it probably doesn't interest any of you listening to this show. So I think that what AJ should have done with her is definitely be competing for the Divas Championship and go on to eventually win it. If you have to, prolong it up until WrestleMania 29. Have her challenge a rather established Divas Champion at WrestleMania 29. Have her knock off the champion and have a lengthy reign as Divas Champion, longer than the likes of Beth Phoenix or Kelly Kelly, which AJ could potentially do and amount to. I think that with the release of Kelly Kelly, the Divas division is in a jeopardizable situation and backed itself into a proverbial corner. You would think WWE would be focusing on creating a diva just as popular as Kelly Kelly, and they're doing that on the all-new NXT on WWE.com. I support WWE's philosophy of producing new divas on NXT the latest season, Season 6, because you're seeing divas like Paige and Audra Marie, who recently had a competitive match that I posted on our Twitter at twitter.com/JonathanClarke1 really coming up in the ranks, and we'll eventually see them on Raw and SmackDown. We'll probably even see them in a cameo at the 25th anniversary of Survivor Series, or even in a competitive role. And with there being so much emphasis right now on the storyline in the Divas division, I think it would be great to have AJ involved in the Divas division, or one of the Divas from NXT. But I think that with Kelly Kelly now being released from WWE, it really opens up the door for someone to come in and grab the brass ring, so to speak. With John Cena, I'd love to see John Cena involved in an angle similar to what he was at the beginning of 2012, where Kane was trying to force John Cena to embrace the hate, because he believed that if John Cena failed to embrace the hate, he wouldn't be able to defeat The Rock at WrestleMania 28. He failed to embrace the hate, and Kane's philosophy and assumption proved out to be an accurate one, because John Cena lost to The Rock in one of the best WrestleMania matches of all time. Do I think that John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 29 in Part 2 will be equally as good as the match at WrestleMania 28? No, I do not, if John Cena is still involved in things like relationship scandals, because fans are going to look at John Cena as an absolute joke. There's going to be even more fan support for The Rock, and The Rock will probably beat John Cena to retire John Cena for a few months. If The Rock beats him this year at WrestleMania 29 and we get John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 29, it's just, well, John Cena puts his career on the line and The Rock comes back to put him out and carry the company for about 5 to 6 months as WWE Champion. As unhighly likely as that is, I think that if John Cena is involved in an angle like he's involved in right now with AJ, by the time we get to WrestleMania 29 in New York, with so many fans coming out to support WWE at WrestleMania every year, it's just as well The Rock comes back to retire him and carry the company for 5 to 6 months. And if it happens, you can pretty much say that I'm one of the greatest radio show hosts of all time for making that assumption so early, with WrestleMania still a few months away. But I think that if John Cena is involved in these childish angles with divas and relationship scandals and promoting WWE the way he has been, I mean, there's no sense in having him defeat The Rock. But there is going to be a date and time when John Cena does win the WWE Championship back. I mean, it's been, pretty close to 2 years now since he's been WWE Champion. And I think one of the reasons why he hasn't been WWE Champion, yes, it's to promote the New Talent Initiative and to give New Talent Initiative stars like Sheamus a chance at being WWE and World Champion. I agree with that 100%. But I think one of the biggest reasons why John Cena has not been WWE Champion is because of the fan support of The Rock and CM Punk for the first half of his WWE Championship reign, which was completely astonishing, and the fact that CM Punk is still WWE Champion is something that I'll never get over and never believe. I've talked about CM Punk probably more than any superstar on my YouTube channel for video blogs here on youtube.com/JonathanClarke22. I recently released a video blog talking about CM Punk Best in the World, available now on Blu-ray and DVD. It's a 3-disc set, and I recently wrote about a potential Rock CM Punk match for the 2013 Royal Rumble in Phoenix. But now that I sit back and think about it, with Ryback now being a huge player for the WWE Championship, The Rock versus Ryback seems to be a better WWE Championship match than CM Punk versus The Rock because of the length of the match. I think that it's because of the storylines that John Cena has been involved in since his injury and over the last few months, where he hasn't seemingly been able to get into some kind of rhythm, and his popularity really decreasing because of that. I approve of what he's doing for breast cancer, don't get me wrong, that's something entirely different from what's happening in his storylines for WWE. It's just the storylines that he's in are taking away his credibility, and WWE would rather have someone like Sheamus feuding for the WWE World Championship, which I can understand now that I sit back and think about it. So if he continues to be involved in these angles, John Cena's future is anything but prominent. So we're kind of at a loss now as to what the main events for WrestleMania 29 will be. We know The Undertaker will be there in some capacity, and over the next few months The Undertaker will return. I was highly anticipating him to be on Team Foley to replace Ryback, who was initially announced as the team captain. I liked how they threw a swerve in the Survivor Series elimination match by taking Ryback out of it and having fans guessing just a few weeks before Survivor Series, and here comes Randy Orton. We know The Undertaker will be at WrestleMania 29 in some capacity. We know that John Cena and The Rock will be at WrestleMania in some capacity. We know The Rock will definitely be there because he will face whoever the champion is at the 2013 Royal Rumble. Obviously, The Rock is going to WrestleMania for the third year in a row. There's been so much emphasis on The Rock when it comes to WrestleMania over the last 2 years. The third year could be the year that he gets knocked off if he faces John Cena. But if John Cena is still involved in these childish angles that are serving no purpose for him, and the other individuals are prospering more than him because of these angles, mainly the Divas, I think that it's just, well, you had a different opponent for The Rock altogether. Even if you had to have Brock Lesnar come in and defeat The Rock for the WWE Championship, as highly unlikely as that is, and The Rock could carry the company for an additional 6 months after he defeats John Cena for the second year in a row, that's really the only way you can take this thing, unless you put Ryback in the match with The Rock at the 2013 Royal Rumble and throw us off altogether. But you know, this angle between himself and AJ is just complete nonsense, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush about it. I mean, it's boring me. I've seen several of the in-ring vignettes. I've seen several of the backstage vignettes. This is an angle that's going nowhere. I mean, do we really need to take this thing to Twitter? It's bad enough that we see it on television. It's bad enough that Vicky Guerrero is involved in this angle. And is it just me that feels this way about Vicky Guerrero? Does she really need to be on television? And has every one of her storylines been boring? I mean, every one of her storylines has just bored me. I mean, the representatives of Vicky Guerrero, Dolph Ziggler and Jack Swagger, have had nothing done for them for months and months and months because of their involvement with Vicky Guerrero. It's not like anyone Vicky Guerrero has been involved with the exception of Edge, has prospered from being managed by Vicky Guerrero. Nothing that she's done over the last few years has been interesting. Nothing that she's done is something that I've talked about in great depth. I mean, this has to have been the first thing that I've talked about in great depth as it relates to Vicky Guerrero in years. And I mean, Vicky Guerrero has been a huge part of WWE ever since at least 2005, when she first appeared on WWE television to help out the Rey Mysterio-Eddie Guerrero ladder match, which was one of their final matches ever on pay-per-view. The final match between Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio was done on the first ever Friday Night SmackDown, when Eddie Guerrero defeated Rey Mysterio for the first time ever after having somewhere between 6 to 7 matches, and Rey Mysterio had defeated Eddie Guerrero in all those matches prior to the steel cage match. She's been on WWE television ever since at least 2005, and everything that she's been involved in has been boring. It's just put me to sleep. Vicky Guerrero really is the cure to insomnia, honestly, and I think that she needs to be taken off WWE television. I mean, having her on there in the roles that she's been on WWE television in are just an insult to the Guerrero legacy. And if you're looking for an explanation as to why some of the Guerreros have quit, like Chavo Guerrero, it's got to be how Vicky Guerrero has been representing her family, honestly. And I don't blame people like Chavo Guerrero or Chavo Classic for walking out of WWE because of how Vicky Guerrero has been representing the Guerrero name. Oftentimes, I sit here and I wonder when I'm writing a column or putting together a radio show how Eddie Guerrero feels about how Vicky Guerrero is representing the Guerrero legacy and the Guerrero family in general, because it's absolutely pathetic. She doesn't need to be involved in the AJ John Cena scandal. She's just kind of there because WWE really don't want to put any of their top superstars in the middle of all this to ruin their credibility. I mean, Vicky Guerrero is just looked at as someone who has ruined her credibility altogether. Yes, she may be representing her family and want to carry on the Guerrero legacy, but is this the way you really want to carry on the Guerrero legacy? I mean, your husband was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame a few months after his passing, and now you're on television looking like a slut, serving no purpose. You know, it doesn't make any sense. I'd much rather see better superstars involved in this angle if this necessarily needs to be happening on Raw from week to week. With Vicky Guerrero in the storyline, it's making it boring. The only thing interesting that she did was back in 2008 when she was the SmackDown General Manager. She got married to Edge in the summer of 2008 in July. Edge was defending the World Championship against people like The Undertaker, and he was losing the championship to The Undertaker, and the title was changing hands back and forth between Edge and The Undertaker. Along with Edge and Undertaker's program from 2008, we saw so many other incredible matches for the WWE Championship involving Edge. So I think that the best storylines that Vicky Guerrero were involved in was when she was the SmackDown General Manager and Edge was pretty much married to her and WWE or World Champion, and since then she hasn't done anything. So I think that this angle is seemingly going nowhere, and the only reason that it's being done is because WWE have nothing for John Cena to do, have had nothing for him to do since his injury. So I guess it's all going to come to an head at Survivor Series, and it's all going to come out in the open. We're going to find out if this angle is legitimate, and if anything's going to be done with it for the months to come leading up to the 2013 Royal Rumble. To me, John Cena doesn't have a chance in the world of facing The Rock at WrestleMania 29 if he continues to be involved in these angles. It's taking away what credibility John Cena's built up over the last 10 years. I mean, Vicky Guerrero looks like an insult more and more each week, providing more evidence to support the claim of this inappropriate relationship. AJ should be competing full-time in the Divas division. She's not. There are so many negative things because of this inappropriate relationship that are happening on Raw every week. It's taking away from your new talent stars having in-ring time, which is a big thing for me that I don't approve of. I mean, people like Zack